Greetings, Earthlings.
Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome back to the Oddball Craze. My name is Bodacious, and this is a quick weekly update. The Legend of Doom was being talked about this week after someone showed the game being ran on a Quest VR headset. For those who are unaware, The Legend of Doom is a long-time project dedicated to the rebuilding of original Legend of Zelda on top of the Doom engine being ran using GZ Doom. It's a very impressive project, rebuilding all the sprite work, enemies, and battle effects to display properly in 3D. The original project is created by D12 Games, but this VR port is working thanks to the work of Dr. Beef, who created Quest Z Doom, which is Z-Doom running on Quest. Dr. Beef is recognizable to those who look for VR ports, having caught the attention of John Carmack before he left Meta. If you have a Quest headset and need something new to play, check it out. For the rest of you, take a look at Legend of Doom, since almost anything can run the GZ Doom engine. Yes, even your toaster. Xbox has announced a couple of events coming up in the near future called Developer Directs. The first one takes place on January 25th and will give the world a look at 4 upcoming titles: the Elder Scrolls Online Chapter Update, Forza Motorsport, Minecraft Legends, and Redfall. Each of the showcases will be hosted by a member of their respective development team, which should be pretty nice because we'll get an in-depth look at them. And after the show, there will be an in-depth look at the Elder Scrolls Online update for all you nerds that really want to get into the details on Elder Scrolls Online. Microsoft did clarify in the announcement that a standalone Developer Direct will take place in the future for Starfield, which is the game everybody wants to see, stating that they want to ensure a proper amount of time for a deep dive. You can tune into YouTube or Twitch on January 25th at 3 p.m. Eastern to see the Hype Machine live and direct. Any press is good press, as they say, and it doesn't look like we'll be changing that policy anytime soon. Last week, Hogwarts Legacy was sitting atop all other games on Steam's top seller list. This week, it hasn't changed. Just a reminder, Hogwarts Legacy has not been released yet and won't be until February 10th. Despite the efforts of many popular gaming outlets attempting to stir the pot of controversy, it seems the consumers have spoken and they want games that take place in the Harry Potter universe. One could argue, of course, that the controversies helped unite many video game consumers to purchase a title that they normally wouldn't have, just to send a message to those who elude that they know best. Does that mean that everyone who bought the game thinks that goblins are Jews or that transgender women aren't women? Probably not. It does mean that those who twisted positions or comments to amplify a rallying cry got mostly ignored. It shows that sometimes people just wanted to play games. In what many interpret as a joke, myself included, who thought this story was satire, 2 of the most heinous companies when it comes to eliminating competition have filed concerns with the FTC regarding the Microsoft and Activision merger. Yes, the same Google that purchases every company that even daydreams of technology, and Nvidia, who is so anti-competitive that even being one of their hardware partners makes doing business a royal pain in the rumpus. Both companies seem to be focusing their concerns on the future of game streaming. Google has invested heavily in game streaming with their Stadia service, which is shutting down, and Nvidia with GeForce Now. Microsoft is probably considered the leader in the industry for game streaming, considering how they've perfected dynamic scaling server and rolled out Xbox Cloud Gaming, though they still have it labeled as beta. Although neither company has outright opposed the merger, at least officially, You can bet that they will both join Sony as expert witnesses when the FTC lawsuit begins this August. Just like Sony, both Google and Nvidia are most likely stomping their feet over perhaps, maybe, possibly not having access to Call of Duty. We'll see if they change their minds when Microsoft offers them the same deal that they did Sony. After all, I assume this move is to get the guaranteed Call of Duty on their platform for the next decade.
Now you might want to keep your eyes peeled because these ones are quick.
It's winter, it's cold, and everyone is getting fat and staying indoors. Thanks to this, Steam has announced that they broke a new record for the most concurrent users in-game at once, over 10 million. That's a lot of microtransactions. Bayonetta 3 got an update this week, mostly consisting of game changes that will ease the difficulty for certain stages, specifically those involving Viola. Her block works better, witch time is easier to activate, and it lasts longer, with weapons getting some buffs. There are bug fixes and other changes, but these changes are the ones that make the game a little easier, meaning hardcore goofs are going to have to specify what version they beat the game on. Meta announced that the original Quest headset will no longer receive updates. The short lifespan of the original Quest won't die out immediately, though, as bug fixes and security updates will continue to roll out. There'll be no additional software made available for the units, though, and Meta Horizon will shut down in March, ending all of the parties you used to throw in the virtual world while ignoring your spouse and children. A number of directors from the Forza Horizon team have left their positions to form a new AAA studio, whatever the that means anymore. The studio, known as Maverick Games, is working on an ultra-high, quality premium, open-world game for consoles. There's only 10 of them working at the studio right now, so some of that might be hyperbole. Speaking of AAA game experiences and not knowing what they are, Ubisoft has delayed Skull and Bones again. They have not given an expected release date, probably for the best, as a bad game always has the potential for being good if you delay it. Heck, nowadays a bad game has the potential to be good if you give it enough time. Ubisoft also announced that they canceled a trio of unannounced games as they are restructuring due to their live services plans not working out. The Last of Us television series made its debut this last weekend, and the critics seem to absolutely love it. At one point, 99% of Rotten Tomato critics recommended it, even though the scores were posted before the series debuted. Now, I'm not one to throw around baseless conjectures or conspiracy theories, but if there are that many reviews before the debut, it means that there were an awful lot of people who were invited and or granted early access, and there's no way access to exclusive content would garner favorable reviews for media companies. Now, to be clear, I haven't seen the show. It might be the greatest thing to hit television in the last 10 years, and honestly, I don't think that would be hard to do. Though many critics enjoy the show, a few do point out that if you've played the game, the show seems pointless. But while on the topic of Warner Brothers, there has been some DC and Batman news. Matt Reeves, director of The Batman, has stated that DC will allow the Pattinson films to be their own Batverse. This is awesome. Just as the Joker film lived in its own little planet, not everything needs to be rushed into an extended universe. Perhaps sometime in the future, the Batverse and the Jokerverse and the Superverse could all come together through an overarching looming threat in the background of their individual films and form an exciting movie in the DC-verse. One can only hope, dream, and pray. NPD has released a list of the best-selling games in the United States for the year 2022. Since we previously looked at the UK charts, I thought it'd be fun to give this one a look also. Unsurprisingly, the number one spot is from a franchise making giant corporations lose their over not having access to. Call of Duty with Modern Warfare 2. Elden Rings locks in the runner-up position, with Madden NFL 23 getting bronze for the year. Sony's competitor for the Game of the Year, God of War Ragnarok, slides into fourth place, while LEGO The Skywalker Saga rounds out the top 5. Interestingly, Nintendo gets 2 titles on the top 10 list, number 6 and 9, both of them being Pokemon games. Remember though, Nintendo doesn't report digital sales, so these titles earn their positions with physical sales only. FIFA 23 slotted between them with Horizon Forbidden West and MLB The Show 22 ending the list of available information. I wouldn't say there's anything surprising about this list. I would have hoped Madden and God of War swapped positions, but I've always been aware that there's a lot of jock gamers. For many people, Madden and Call of Duty are their yearly purchases and their only video game purchases. That's a market that makes a lot of money, and penetrating it would be difficult. Just ask Sony, Google, or Nvidia about that. A couple of weeks ago, we shared German sales data for the Callisto protocol, specifically pointing out,
because we're going to assume that the Callisto protocol is not performing as expected.
Now there's news that the game didn't make sales expectations. According to analysts at Chaodyssey, a Korean-based publication, many investment groups have lowered their target stock prices for developer crafted. The publication quotes a Samsung Securities release stating that the company expected cumulative sales of 5 million copies, but are now looking to push past 2 million sometime this year. Korea Investment and Securities also lowered its sales estimate from 4 million to 2.1 million. The Callisto Protocol is the first game from Dead Space creator Glenn Schofield's studio and had big pushes from Jeff Keighley at both of his major events. This means the game wasn't only expensive to develop, approximately $130 million, but also costly to market. Coupled with mixed reviews and a buggy PC launch, one wonders about the future for Crafton and Striking Distance Studios, though they have a roadmap for content releasing in 2023. Heck, nowadays a bad game has the potential to be a good game with enough time. And let's end this week's update with a nice heartwarming story. Although Stadia will shut down its services tomorrow, the 18th of January, for those watching in the future, Google will be releasing later this week a tool to enable Bluetooth connections on the Stadia controller. This will allow the controller to wirelessly connect to PCs, phones, and theoretically other consoles, a feature that wasn't available before. Google hasn't mentioned if they will publish the specifications for the communication protocol, which would enable third-party tools such as battery status, but here's to hoping Bluetooth access will keep some of these controllers out of landfills for another year or two. So long, Stadia. You never stood a chance. Especially with that marketing technique Google used. I mean, how was I supposed to equate Reggie Watts talking about electric air and mind-bending, absurd gaming platform with what the device actually was? A guy turning into a kayak? Floating through neon space while bending light through a wormhole? That doesn't tell people what Stadia is. Oh well. That's it for the quick weekly update. Like it if you like it, comment it if you comment it, subscribe it if you subscribe it. If you don't, don't. So long, mortals.